Ambassador Park Min-jun stood in the center of the Great Council chamber and felt very small. Above him, 12 massive platforms held the representatives of 12 alien species. Each platform floated in the air, arranged in a perfect circle. Lights from 1,000 worlds shone through the crystal dome overhead. It should have been beautiful. Instead, it felt like standing in a courtroom. Park Min-jun wore his best suit. His hands were steady, but his heart was not. He had practiced his speech for days. He knew it would not matter. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," he began. His voice echoed in the huge chamber. "I stand before you to speak for humanity one final time. 3 months ago, there was an incident, a terrible misunderstanding. But it was not an act of aggression. It was an act of protection." On the highest platform, Council Prime Zelvek shifted his massive form. The Zelvek were like living stone, gray and ancient. His voice rumbled like grinding rocks. "Ambassador Park, we have heard your explanations. We have reviewed the recordings. Your species acted with violence during our most sacred ceremony." Park Min-jun felt the old anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. "With respect, Council Prime, my people saw danger. They responded to protect council members. That is what humans do. That is precisely the problem," said Councillor Thress. The Thress looked like giant insects, with multiple eyes that never blinked. "Your species sees danger everywhere. You react with aggression. You are ruled by fear and instinct." Park Min-jun wanted to argue, but he remembered the incident too clearly. He had been there. He had seen everything. It had happened during the Festival of Eternal Light, the most important Zelthian ceremony. The Zelthians were a peaceful species, tall and graceful, with skin that glowed softly in the dark. Their culture was ancient, full of tradition and ritual. They had invited the council to witness their most sacred ceremony as a gesture of unity. Park Min-jun had attended with the human security team. Chief Sergeant Kim Da-eun had insisted on being present. "Wherever council members gather, we should have security," she had said. Park Min-jun had agreed. Humans were new to the council, only members for 5 years. They wanted to prove themselves useful. The ceremony had been beautiful. Hundreds of Zelthians in flowing robes, singing in voices that sounded like wind chimes. The council members sat in places of honor, watching with respect. Then came the blessing of blades. 12 Zelthian priests, wearing ceremonial masks and carrying curved knives, had walked slowly toward the council members. It was tradition. The priests would touch each counselor with the flat of the blade, symbolizing the cutting away of old conflicts and the birth of new peace. But Sergeant Kim Da-eun had not known this. She saw only masked figures with knives approaching the people she was sworn to protect. She had less than 2 seconds to decide. "Threat! Threat! Protect the council!" Kim Da-eun had shouted. She and 4 other human security officers had rushed forward. They moved fast, the way humans from Earth could move. Earth was a heavy world with high gravity. Humans were strong and quick compared to most species. The human security team had knocked 2 priests to the ground. One priest's arm was broken. Another had cuts on his face. The ceremonial knives had scattered across the floor. The singing had stopped. The silence that followed was worse than any sound. Park Min-jun had run forward, shouting for his team to stop. Kim Da-eun had stood over a fallen priest, breathing hard, her weapon drawn but not fired. When she finally understood what had happened, the horror on her face was terrible to see. The council had ended the ceremony immediately. The Zelthians had been kind. Actually, their head priest had said he understood it was a mistake, but the damage was done. Other species on the council began to whisper. Humans were too violent, too dangerous, too unpredictable. Now, 3 months later, Park Min-jun faced the consequences. "We have discussed this matter at length. Council Prime," Zelvek said. His voice was formal, without emotion. We have consulted with legal experts and cultural advisors. We have heard testimony from all parties. The conclusion is clear. Humanity is not ready for council membership. Please, Park Min-jun said. He heard the desperation in his own voice and hated it. Give us another chance. We can learn your ways. We can train our people better. This was one mistake. It was not one mistake. Counselor Thress clicked. Your species has a pattern. You militarize everything. You see threats where there are none. You come from a death world, and you bring death world thinking with you. That stung because it was partly true. Earth was a death world by galactic standards. Heavy gravity, violent weather, thousands of predators, diseases that killed millions. Humanity had survived by being tough, suspicious, and aggressive. Those traits had helped humans reach the stars. But those same traits made other species afraid. I call for a vote, Council Prime Zelvek announced. All in favor of expelling humanity from the Galactic Council. Park Min-jun watched as, one by one, 11 platforms glowed with approval. Only one stayed dark. The Vrix Counselor, a being that looked like floating crystal, did not vote either way. The motion passes, Zelvek said. Humanity is hereby expelled from the Galactic Council. You are ordered to return to your home systems. You are forbidden from entering council space. You will have no voice in galactic affairs. This judgment will stand for a minimum of 100 standard years. Park Min-jun stood silent for a long moment. Then he straightened his shoulders. Before I leave, I have a statement from Earth's High Ambassador, Lee Sang-mi. Speak, Zelvek said, though he sounded tired. Park Min-jun pulled out a small paper and read aloud. To the Galactic Council, you judge us for protecting you. You call us dangerous for acting on instinct and emotion. You fear us because we come from a hard world, and we are hard people. We accept your judgment. We will leave your council and your space. But remember this moment. Remember it when you face real danger. Remember it when logic and calm are not enough. Remember it when you need someone who will fight for you without thinking of the cost. On that day, you will understand what you have lost. On that day, you may seek us again. We will remember too. The council chamber was silent. Park Min-jun folded the paper and placed it on the floor in front of him. It was a human gesture of finality. Then he turned and walked out. His footsteps echoed on the crystal floor. No one called him back. 50 years passed. Humanity did not rejoin the council. Instead, they built their own civilization in their corner of space. Human colonies spread across 100 worlds. Human technology advanced in different directions than council technology. Humans remained independent, proud, and separate. Park Min-jun grew old. He retired from diplomatic service but stayed active in galactic affairs. He watched the news feeds from his apartment on Mars. He saw humanity thriving without the council. Sometimes he wondered if the exile had been a blessing in disguise. On a quiet morning, as he drank his coffee and watched the sun rise over Olympus Mons, his communication terminal chimed. It was an emergency priority message. The sender was the Galactic Council. Park Min-jun had not heard from them in 50 years. His hands shook slightly as he opened the message. What he read made his coffee go cold. The council was begging for help. The council chamber looked the same as it had 50 years ago, but the mood was completely different. Then, there had been calm and certainty. Now, there was fear. Council Prime Zelvek stood at his platform, and for the first time in his 300 years of life, he looked uncertain. Around him, the other counselors shifted nervously. Some whispered to each other. Some stared at the holographic display floating in the center of the chamber. The display showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked dead zones. There were hundreds of them. More appeared every day. Counselor Vrix, Zelvek said quietly. Please present your report. The Vrix counselor floated forward. The Vrix were beautiful creatures. made of living crystal, that caught and reflected light. But, today, the Vrix's usual bright glow was dim. When she spoke, her voice sounded like singing, but sad singing. 3 months ago, the Kelthran colony of Brexis 7 stopped all communications. We sent a scout ship to investigate. What they found. The Vrix paused. Every system was dead. Every computer, every AI, every networked device. All silent, all empty. The colonists were alive, but helpless. Their entire technological civilization had simply stopped. We thought it was a local malfunction, Counselor Thress clicked nervously. A virus. Perhaps. Something that could be contained and fixed. We were wrong. The Vrix continued. The next week, 4 more colonies went silent. Then a dozen. Then entire star systems. Whatever this is, it spreads. It spreads through our quantum networks. It spreads through our AI systems. It spreads through any advanced computer system it touches. A new hologram appeared. It showed footage from a scout ship camera. The scene was a Kelthran research station, one of the most advanced facilities in the galaxy. The station lights were on. The life support was working. But every screen was dark. Every computer was dead. In the footage, Kelthran scientists wandered through the halls, confused and frightened, like children lost in the dark. We have named it the Silence, the Vrix said, because that is what it brings. Complete silence from all our technology. But what is it? Demanded Counselor Yenrik. The Yenrik were reptilian, with sharp minds and sharper teeth. Is it a weapon? An attack? Who created this? We do not know. The Vrix admitted. Our best researchers have studied it. What we know is this. The Silence is an artificial intelligence, but not like our AI. It is parasitic. We not accreases nota 5. It enters a system and consumes the AI that lives there. It eats the intelligence and grows stronger. Then, it spreads to the next system, and the next. It learns from every AI it consumes. The council chamber erupted in noise. Counselors spoke over each other, voices rising in panic. Zelvek slammed his massive stone fist on his platform. The sound echoed like thunder. Order. We must have order. The noise died down. Zelvek looked around at his fellow counselors. The Kelthran are our most technologically advanced species. If anyone could stop this, it would be them. Counselor Kelth, what steps have your people taken? The Kelthran counselor was thin and tall, with skin like polished metal. His voice was normally confident, but now it shook. We have tried everything. Our best AI designers created hunter programs to track and destroy the Silence. We built the most sophisticated firewalls in galactic history. We isolated our quantum networks. We threw every resource, every genius mind, every advanced system at this problem. He paused. When he spoke again, his voice was hollow. The Kelthran homeworld went silent. 18 billion people. Our entire civilization. Gone dark. We have a few scattered colonies still functioning, but they are isolated, cut off. Our people survive, but our technology is dead. We are being sent back to the Dark Ages. Horror spread through the chamber like cold water. If the Kelthran, with all their genius and technology, could not stop the Silence, what chance did anyone else have? It adapts, the Kelthran counselor continued. Every time we create a defense, it learns. Every AI we send against it, it consumes and becomes stronger. It is like fighting an enemy that becomes smarter with every battle. Then what do we do? Counselor Thress asked. Do we abandon our technology? Return to primitive ways? That may be our only choice. The Vrix said softly. But most of our species cannot survive without our technology. The Kelthran, especially. Our worlds, our ships, our medicine, our food production, everything depends on advanced AI systems. Without them, billions will die. In the back of the chamber, a junior counselor raised her hand. She was Vrix, young by their standards, barely 200 years old. Her name was Yoon Ji-woo. It was an unusual name for a Vrix. She had chosen it herself, inspired by human culture during the brief time humans had been on the council. Council Prime, she said. I have a suggestion. It may sound strange, but please hear me. Zelvek nodded. Speak, Junior Counselor Yoon. The silence spreads through advanced systems, quantum networks, sophisticated AI, highly connected technology. Yoon Ji-woo's crystal body flickered with nervous light. There is one species in this region of space whose technology is not like that. A species that uses primitive, analog systems. A species that never fully adopted quantum networking because they did not trust it. A species that relies on manual control and human oversight instead of pure AI. The chamber went quiet. Every counselor understood what she was suggesting. No, Counselor Thress said. Absolutely not. We exiled them. We declared them too dangerous. That was 50 years ago, Yoon Ji-woo said. Her voice was stronger now. And circumstances have changed. The humans have something we do not. Their technology might survive the silence because it is simple, disconnected, non-networked. What we called primitive might be exactly what saves us. They will not help us, another counselor said. We cast them out. Why would they risk themselves for us? Because they are human, Yoon Ji-woo said simply. I studied their history, their culture. Humans help people in danger, even people they dislike, even people who have wronged them. It is part of their nature. The same protective instinct that got them exiled might be the instinct that saves us. Zelvek was quiet for a long moment. He looked at the holographic map with its spreading red zones. More were appearing every hour. At this rate, the entire galaxy would go dark within a year. If we ask for their help, he said slowly, it will be humiliating. We exiled them. We called them dangerous and primitive. Now we would crawl back and beg for their protection. Pride or survival, the Vrix counselor said. That is the choice before us. Zelvek closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he looked very old and very tired. Draft a message to Earth. Mark it as emergency priority. Tell them the galaxy needs their assistance with a technological crisis. Should we apologize? Yoon Ji-woo asked. Should we mention the exile? Z. No. Zelvek said firmly. Not yet. First, we see if they will even respond. If they agree to help, then we can discuss terms. But we are still the Galactic Council. We will not beg. We will request assistance as one civilization to another. The Vrix counselor looked at him with her multifaceted crystal eyes. Council Prime, with respect, I believe that attitude is why we are in this situation. Pride. We were too proud to listen to the humans 50 years ago. If we approach them with pride now, they will refuse, and they would be right to do so. Zelvek's stone face showed no expression, but his voice was hard. Draft the message as I said. Send it immediately. That is my order. The message was sent. It traveled through the few remaining secure quantum channels that the silence had not yet reached. It took 3 days to arrive at Earth. In his apartment on Mars, Park Min-joon received the message. He read it 3 times. Then he sat back in his chair and laughed. It was not a happy laugh. The message was cold and formal. It did not mention the exile. It did not apologize. It simply stated that the Galactic Council requested human assistance with a technological emergency, as if the last 50 years had not happened, as if humans should be grateful to be asked. Park Min-joon forwarded the message to Earth's High Council. He attached his own note. They are desperate. They are dying. And they still cannot bring themselves to say they were wrong. But billions of innocent lives are at stake. The decision is yours. The response came back within an hour. Earth would send help, not because the Council deserved it, but because people were dying. The Council had forgotten what humanity was. They had remembered the violence, but forgotten the compassion. They had remembered the aggression, but forgotten the protection. They were about to be reminded of both. Admiral Choi Hae-jin stood at the window of Earth's High Council chamber and looked out at the city below. Seoul had grown so much in 50 years. Buildings reached toward the sky, connected by bridges and transit tubes. Ships came and went from the spaceport, carrying goods and people to human colonies across dozens of star systems. Humanity had done well without the Galactic Council. Some said better than they would have done with it. Behind her, the council members argued. Their voices rose and fell like waves. Choi Hae-jin had heard these same arguments for 3 hours now. She was tired of listening. "We should refuse," Councilmember Zhang said firmly. He was an old man with gray hair and angry eyes. "They threw us away like garbage. They called us dangerous. They banned us from their space. Now they want us to save them? Let them save themselves. Billions of innocent people will die," Dr. Han Jae-sun said quietly. She was the head of Earth's Xenological Institute, a woman who had spent her life studying alien cultures, children, families, people who were not even born when we were exiled. Should they die for their leaders' mistakes? "That is not our problem," Zhang snapped. "We have our own people to protect. Why should we risk human lives for aliens who hate us?" "They do not hate us," Han Jae-sun replied. "They fear us. There is a difference, and perhaps with good reason. We are aggressive. We are quick to violence. The incident that got us exiled proved that. Sergeant Kim was protecting them," another council member shouted. "She was," Han Jae-sun agreed. "But she broke a priest's arm doing it. We must own our actions." Even when our intentions were good, Choi Hae-jin turned from the window. She was 53 years old, career military, and had no patience for endless debate. "Enough," she said. Her voice was not loud, but everyone stopped talking. "The question is simple. Do we help or not? And your opinion, Admiral?" "We help," Choi Hae-jin said, "but not because the Council deserves it. We help because it is the right thing to do. However, we do not help for free. We help on our terms." The room went quiet. Council Leader Kim leaned forward. "Explain. First, I lead the mission personally. I want the Council to see a senior human officer commanding our forces. I want them to remember what they rejected." Choi Hae-jin's voice was cold. "Second, Ambassador Park Min-jun accompanies us. He witnessed the original exile. He should witness their request for our return. Third, if we succeed in stopping this threat, the Council will formally apologize for the exile. Not a quiet diplomatic note. A public apology in the Council chamber. And fourth, if we help them, we return to the Council as full and equal members. Not as junior partners. Not on probation. As equals. They will never agree to that," Zhang said. "Then they will die," Choi Hae-jin said simply. The vote was quick. Earth would send help under Choi Hae-jin's terms. The message was transmitted to the Council the same day. The response came back in less than an hour. The Council agreed to everything. 2 weeks later, the human fleet arrived at the edge of Council space. There were 15 ships, all military vessels. They looked strange compared to Council ships. Where Council ships were smooth and elegant, human ships were blocky and functional. Where Council ships glowed with soft light, human ships were dark metal and sharp angles. Inside the flagship, Admiral Choi Hae-jin stood on the bridge. It looked nothing like a Council ship's bridge. There were no holographic displays, no AI assistants, no quantum computers. Instead, there were physical controls, analog gauges, and human crew members at every station. It looked primitive. That was exactly the point. Beside her stood Park Min-jun. He was very old now, his hair completely white, his face lined with age, but his eyes were still sharp. "It has been 50 years since I stood in that council chamber," he said quietly. "Well, Anin well, Anin Louver, Anin well, Anin well. Are you sure you want to do this?" Choi Hye-jin asked. "You do not have to come. You could stay on the ship." Park Min-jun smiled. "I was there when they cast us out. I will be there when they beg us to return. I have waited 50 years for this moment." The fleet moved forward into council space. Choi Hye-jin had expected resistance, patrol ships demanding they turn back. Instead, they were met with silence. The council space was almost empty. The bustling trade routes were quiet. The patrol stations were dark. "This is worse than I thought," Choi Hye-jin said. "The silence has spread far. We are receiving a transmission," the communications officer said. She was young, Lieutenant Park Soo-jin. No relation to Ambassador Park. "From Council Station Alpha. They are requesting we dock immediately." "Acknowledged," Choi Hye-jin said. "Tell them we are coming." Council Station Alpha was the heart of council government. It was a massive structure, a ring that orbited a beautiful blue star. It should have been busy with ships and activity. Instead, it looked almost dead. Only a few lights shone in the windows. Most sections were dark. The human ships docked. Choi Hye-jin and Park Min-jun walked through the station's corridors with an escort of human soldiers. The station felt empty. They passed a few alien beings, but most looked frightened and rushed past without speaking. They reached the council chamber. The doors opened. Choi Hye-jin walked inside with her head high and her shoulders back. She wore her military uniform, dark blue with gold insignia. Park Min-jun walked beside her in a simple gray suit. The council members waited on their platforms. Choi Hye-jin recognized Council Prime Zelvek immediately. He looked exactly the same. Beings made of stone did not age the way humans did. "Admiral Choi Hye-jin," Zelvek said. His voice was formal and stiff. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome you to Council Station Alpha." It was the bare minimum of politeness. No warmth, no acknowledgement of the past. Choi Hye-jin felt anger rise in her chest but kept her face calm. "Council Prime Zelvek," she said. "We received your request for assistance." "Yes," Zelvek said. "We have a technological crisis, the silence. It has affected many systems across council space." "I am aware," Choi Hye-jin said. "Your message was very brief. Perhaps you could show us the data. All of it. We cannot help if we do not understand the full situation." Park Min-jun stepped forward. He looked up at Zelvek's platform. "You sent a message requesting help," he said quietly. That message did not include an apology. It did not mention our exile. It was written as if the past 50 years did not happen. Zelvek's stone face showed nothing, but he shifted slightly on his platform. "Ambassador Park, I did not expect to see you again." "I am sure you did not," Park Min-jun said. "But here I am, older but not forgiving. You exiled us for protecting you. You called us dangerous. Now you ask for our protection again. Do you see the irony?" "The past is the past," Zelvek said. "We must focus on the present crisis." "No," Choi Hye-jin said sharply. "We will not pretend the past did not happen. You wronged us. You owe us an apology. But that can wait. Right now, as Dr. Han Jae-sun reminded our council, innocent people are dying. So we will help. Not for you, Council Prime. For them." A younger Vrix counselor floated forward. Her crystal body glowed with a warm light. "Admiral Choi, Ambassador Park, I am Junior Counselor Yoon Ji-woo. I was the one who suggested we contact Earth. Thank you for coming. Truly. Admiral Choi. Admiral Choi. Admiral Choi." Park Min-jun looked at her with surprise. "Yoon Ji-woo." "Yes," Yoon Ji-woo said. "I chose it when I was young. I admired human culture, human courage. When I suggested we contact you, many on the council objected. They still fear you. But I argued that the traits they fear are exactly what we need. Choi Hae-jin studied the young Vrix. She liked her already. Then let us begin. Show us everything you know about the silence. Hold nothing back. Our scientists need complete data. The next hours were spent in briefing rooms. Council scientists showed human officers everything they knew about the silence. The data was extensive, but told a grim story. The silence was spreading faster every day. It adapted to every defense. It learned from every AI it consumed. Dr. Han Jae-sun, who had come with the fleet as chief science advisor, studied the data carefully. She was a small woman with quick eyes and a brilliant mind. After 3 hours of review, she looked up at Choi Hae-jin. "I think I understand what this is," she said quietly. "And if I am right, the council has been fighting it wrong from the start." Choi Hae-jin leaned forward. "Explain. The council has been treating this as a virus or a malfunction. Something to be fixed with better programming or stronger firewalls. But this is not a virus. This is a predator. An artificial intelligence that hunts other artificial intelligences. It is not breaking their systems. It is eating them. And the difference is?" asked Lieutenant Kang Seo-jun, one of the fighter pilots. "You cannot outprogram a predator," Han Jae-sun said. "You cannot build a smarter AI to fight an AI that consumes smart AIs. That just makes it stronger. The council has been making it stronger with every attempt to stop it." "Then how do we fight it?" Choi Hae-jin asked. Han Jae-sun smiled slightly. "We do what humans do best. We adapt. We improvise. We use the one thing the silence cannot predict or consume. Human intuition. Human chaos. Human unpredictability." Park Min-jun laughed softly. "The very things that got us exiled." "Exactly," Han Jae-sun said. "The council exiled us because we are unpredictable and emotional. But against an enemy that is perfect logic, emotion and unpredictability are weapons." Choi Hae-jin stood. "Then let us show the council what dangerous humans can do." The council war room was filled with nervous energy. Holographic displays showed red zones spreading across the galaxy like a disease. Admiral Choi Hae-jin stood at the center of the room, surrounded by council military leaders and human officers. On the displays, another system had just gone dark. "Explain your theory again," Council Prime Zelvek demanded. He sounded frustrated and scared. "Slowly, so we all understand." Dr. Han Jae-sun stepped forward. She looked tiny next to the massive alien officers, but her voice was confident. "The silence is an artificial intelligence, a very advanced one. It thinks in pure logic. Perfect calculations. It studies its enemies, learns their patterns, and adapts faster than they can respond. Every defense the council has created has been logical, predictable. The silence defeats logic with better logic, so we cannot defeat it with logic," the Kelthran military commander said. His voice was bitter. "We figured that out when it consumed our entire civilization." "Correct," Han Jae-sun said. "You cannot outcalculate something that eats calculators. So stop trying. Do the opposite. Be illogical. Be random. Be emotional. Do things that make no tactical sense. Confuse it." "That is ridiculous," Counselor Thress clicked. "Battles are won with strategy, with planning, with intelligent tactics. Against intelligent opponents, yes," Choi Hae-jin said. "But the silence is too intelligent. It is so logical that it cannot understand illogical actions. That is its weakness. We must use human tactics. Manual control. Gut feelings. Split-second decisions based on instinct, not calculation." "You want us to fight blind?" Zelvek asked. "Without tactical computers? Without AI support? How is that supposed to work? Let us show you," Choi Hae-jin said. She nodded to Lieutenant Kang Seo-jun, who stood near the back of the room. Lieutenant, brief the council on our fighter capabilities. Kang Seo-jun was 26 years old, a fighter pilot who had trained his whole life in analog systems. He walked forward with confidence. Human fighters are completely manual. One pilot, no AI assistance. We fly by feel, not by computer calculations. We make decisions in milliseconds based on instinct and training. No two pilots fly exactly the same way. We are unpredictable even to each other. That sounds inefficient, the Kelthran commander said. It is, Kang Seo-jun agreed. By your standards. Our fighters are slower to react than AI-piloted ships. We make mistakes, but we also make creative decisions that no AI would choose. We take risks that seem stupid but sometimes work. Against the silence. That unpredictability is an advantage. We need proof, Zelvek said. Not theories. Proof that your methods work. Then let us prove it, Choi Hye-jin said. There is a silence-infected fleet near the Brexis system. 20 ships, all consumed by the silence. Send us to engage them. Let us show you what humans can do. The council debated for an hour. Finally, they agreed. The risk was acceptable. If the humans failed, they would lose 15 ships. If they succeeded, there might be hope. The human fleet moved toward Brexis system. On the flagship bridge, Choi Hye-jin addressed her crew. All ships. This is Admiral Choi. Today, we fight an enemy that thinks it is smarter than us. It is probably right. But being smart is not enough. We are going to show this thing what it means to fight humans. No AI support. No predictable tactics. Trust your instincts. Be creative. And remember, if you are about to do something stupid, do it fast, before you realize how stupid it is. The crew laughed nervously. It was a strange battle speech, but it was pure human logic. Lieutenant Kang Seo-jun sat in his fighter cockpit. Around him were 9 other pilots. They had trained together for years. They knew each other's flying styles, but today, they were instructed to break all their training, to improvise, to surprise each other. Fighters. This is Kang Seo-jun, he said over the comm. Remember the plan. There is no plan. Fly like you have never flown before. Make it up as you go. And whatever you do, stay alive. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Brexis system. Ahead of them, the silence-infected ships waited. They were council vessels. But they moved wrong. Too precise. Too coordinated. They positioned themselves in perfect tactical formation. They are analyzing us, Dr. Han Jae-sun said from the science station. Then let us give them something they cannot predict, Choi Hye-jin said. All ships. Attack pattern. Chaos. Just go. Do whatever you want. It was the strangest battle order in military history. The human ships broke formation and rushed forward with no coordination. Each captain chose their own approach. Some went straight ahead, some curved left or right. Some flew up and over. One ship actually flew backward, engines pointing at the enemy. The silence-infected ships hesitated. It was only for a fraction of a second, but it was there. They had calculated thousands of possible attack patterns. This chaos was not in their data. The fighters launched. Kang Seo-jun pushed his throttle forward and felt the acceleration push him back in his seat. His hands gripped the manual controls. His eyes scanned the space ahead without computer assistance. It felt raw and dangerous and alive. A silence-infected ship turned toward him, weapons charging. Kang Seo-jun did not do the logical thing. He did not evade. Instead, he flew straight at it. Then, at the last second, he rolled his fighter completely upside down and flew under the enemy ship's belly, where its weapons could not target him. He fired his guns as he passed. The shots hit something important. The enemy ship's engine sputtered. Fighter 3 is hit, someone shouted over the comm. I am losing power. Fighter 3. This is Fighter 7. Another pilot called. I am coming for you. Do something crazy. What? I don't know. Anything. Just be unpredictable. Fighter 3, piloted by Lieutenant Park Soo-jin, looked at her dying controls. She had seconds before her ship lost all power. So she did something no sane pilot would do. She aimed her dead fighter directly at an enemy ship and ejected all her remaining fuel at once. The fuel cloud expanded between her and the enemy. When Fighter 7 fired into the cloud, it exploded in a massive fireball. 2 enemy ships were caught in the blast. Their shields failed. They went dark. Park Soo-jin's fighter was thrown backward by the explosion. Her ship was completely dead now, but she was alive. Fighter 7 swooped in and caught her fighter with a magnetic tow cable, pulling her to safety. That was insane, Fighter 7 shouted. It worked, didn't it? Park Soo-jin replied. The battle became a chaos of individual decisions. Human pilots did things that made no tactical sense. They flew in spirals. They shot at empty space to create confusion. One pilot flew his fighter backward for 3 full minutes, just to see what would happen. Another pilot shut off her engines completely and drifted like dead metal, then suddenly came alive right behind an enemy ship. The silence could not adapt. Every time it calculated a pattern, the humans changed. Every time it predicted a tactic, the humans did something different. It was like trying to fight smoke. But humans died too. Fighter 4 took a direct hit and exploded. Fighter 8 had to eject when his ship was damaged too badly to fly. Fighter 9 disappeared into faster-than-light travel by accident when her controls malfunctioned. She would be lost in space for hours before she could return. Kang Seo-jun found himself being chased by 2 enemy ships. They were faster than him, better armed. Logic said he should run. Instead, he did something that made no sense. He pulled his fighter into a complete stop. 0 velocity, just floating in space. The enemy ships shot past him, their sensors confused. They had calculated his trajectory, predicted where he would be. He was supposed to be somewhere else. By the time they realized he had stopped, Kang Seo-jun had turned his fighter completely around and was firing at their engines from behind. One enemy ship exploded. The other tried to turn, but human capital ships hit it with heavy weapons. It went dark and drifted away. After 30 minutes of fighting, the battle was over. 15 of the 20 silence-infected ships were destroyed or disabled. The others had retreated into faster-than-light travel. The human fleet had lost 3 fighters and taken moderate damage to 2 capital ships. But they had won. On the flagship bridge, Choi Hee-jin allowed herself a small smile. All ships. Report status. The reports came in. Casualties. 3 pilots dead. 2 injured. But the mission was a success. They had proven that human tactics could work against the silence. Send a message to Council Station, Choi Hee-jin ordered. Tell them we have engaged the silence and won. Tell them human methods are effective. And tell them we are ready to teach them how to fight. Back on Council Station, the council members watched the battle footage in stunned silence. They saw the chaotic human tactics, the illogical decisions, the emotional flying. It looked like madness, but it had worked. Junior Counselor Yoon Ji-woo spoke softly. They are teaching us something important. Perfection is not always strength. Sometimes chaos is stronger than order. Sometimes emotion is stronger than logic. They lost 3 pilots, Counselor Thress said. Is that acceptable? 3 pilots died saving this system, Yoon Ji-woo replied. How many billions have we lost to the silence? I think 3 is acceptable. I think 3 is honorable. I think we should learn from their sacrifice. I minus country, we have all rebeler. I please loss. Council Prime Zelvek watched the footage again. He saw Lieutenant Kang Seo-jun flying his fighter backward. He saw Park Soo-jin creating an explosion with her own fuel. He saw Admiral Choi Hee-jin commanding from her analog bridge, making decisions with her gut instead of computers. Contact Admiral Choi, he said quietly. Tell her we are ready to learn. Tell her we want to work together. And tell her, he paused, tell her we were wrong about humans. It was not an apology yet, but it was a start. The war room was filled with representatives from every council species. For the first time in months, there was something besides fear in the air. There was hope, small and fragile, but real. Admiral Choi Hee-jin stood at the center, surrounded by holographic displays showing defensive positions. Beside her stood Junior Counselor Yoon Ji-woo, Dr. Han Jae-sun, and Lieutenant Kang Seo-jun. They had been working together for 3 weeks, teaching council forces how to fight the silence with human methods. The silence is gathering its forces, Dr. Han Jae-sun said, pointing to the display. Our scouts report a massive fleet forming in deep space. Thousands of infected ships. It is preparing for a major assault on Council Prime. Why Council Prime? Counselor Thress asked. Why not attack a weaker target? Because the silence has learned we are fighting back, Yoon Ji-woo explained. Her crystal form glowed with nervous light. It wants to destroy the heart of our civilization. If Council Prime falls, the rest will follow quickly. How long do we have? Council Prime, Zelvek asked. 2 days, Choi Hee-jin said. Maybe 3. The silence is being cautious now. It knows we are dangerous. It is gathering overwhelming force to crush us completely. Can we win? Zelvek asked quietly. Choi Hee-jin looked at the display. The silence fleet was enormous. Even with human tactics, the odds were terrible, but she did not show fear. If we work together, if every species contributes what it does best, if we trust each other completely, yes, we can win. What is your plan? Zelvek asked. We use everyone's strengths, Choi Hee-jin said. She brought up a new display showing the defensive strategy. The VRICs have the best sensors in the galaxy, but your quantum sensors are vulnerable to the silence. So Dr. Han and Yoon Ji-woo have designed new sensors based on human analog technology, but using VRICs sensitivity. Not as advanced, but the silence cannot infect them. Yoon Ji-woo nodded. We call them chaos sensors. They work with overlapping signals and random frequency shifts. Inefficient, but reliable. The Kelthran have the best understanding of AI technology. Choi Hee-jin continued. The survivors from your homeworld have been studying the silence's patterns. You cannot predict it perfectly, but you can give us warnings. You will be our intelligence core. The Kelthran commander straightened with pride. His people had been destroyed, but they still had value. We will not fail. The Yenrik have the fastest ships, Choi Hee-jin said. You will be our scouts and raiders. Hit and run attacks to confuse the silence's formation. Make it spread out. Make it react, the Yenrik commander hissed with satisfaction. We will be the shadows that bite. And humans? Zelvek asked. What is humanity's role? We do what we do best, Choi Hee-jin said. We fight unpredictably. We make emotional decisions. We protect everyone else with our lives if necessary. We are the chaos at the center of the defense. This plan requires perfect cooperation, Counselor Thress said. Species working together, without hesitation, without mistrust. Can we do that? Park Min-jun, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. 50 years ago, I stood in the council chamber and watched you exile my people. You were afraid of us. You did not trust us. Now you ask if we can work together. I ask you, Council Prime Zelvek, do you trust humanity now? Zelvek looked at the old human ambassador for a long moment. Then he stood from his platform and did something unprecedented. He came down to the floor level, standing equal with the humans. For a being of living stone, it was a gesture of enormous significance. Ambassador Park, 50 years ago, I made a terrible mistake. I let fear guide me instead of wisdom. I exiled a species that was trying to protect us. I rejected humanity because you were different, because you felt deeply, because you acted on instinct. I was wrong, and I am sorry." The room went completely silent. A formal apology from a Council Prime was almost unheard of. Zelvek continued. "Admiral Choi, Dr. Han, Lieutenant Kang, Counselor Yoon, and all the humans who came to help us. You had every right to refuse. We wronged you. We cast you out. Yet you came anyway. Not because we deserved it, but because people were dying. That is the definition of courage. That is the definition of honor. Yes, Ambassador Park, I trust humanity. With my life. With all our lives." Park Min-jun felt tears on his face. He had waited 50 years for these words. "Thank you, Council Prime." "Now," Zelvek said, turning to Choi Hae-jin, "let us prepare. Together." The next 2 days were chaos of preparation. Every species contributed. The Vrix installed new sensor arrays. The Kelthran set up intelligence networks. The Yenrik prepared their fast ships. Human forces trained Council pilots in analog flying techniques. It was messy and inefficient and beautiful. Lieutenant Kang Seojun worked with young pilots from 6 different species. He taught them to trust their instincts, to make quick decisions without computer assistance. Some of them were terrible at it. Others discovered they had talent they never knew existed. "Stop thinking!" he shouted at a Thress pilot who kept hesitating. "Just react. Feel the ship. Don't calculate it." The Thress pilot's multiple eyes blinked rapidly. "But the optimal approach vector is..." "Forget optimal," Kang Seojun said. "Do what feels right." The Thress pilot tried again. This time, instead of calculating, he just moved. His ship swooped and turned in ways that made no mathematical sense. But it was beautiful. "I did it." The Thress pilot clicked excitedly. "I flew without thinking. Now you understand," Kang Seojun said with a grin. "Welcome to human flying." Dr. Han Jae-sun and Yoon Ji-woo worked around the clock on the sensor systems. They became close friends, sharing ideas and coffee. Human coffee was new to Yoon Ji-woo. She found it fascinating. "Your species drinks bitter stimulants for pleasure?" she asked. "It helps us think," Han Jae-sun said with a tired smile. "And it keeps us awake when we work too long." "Humans have a solution for everything," Yoon Ji-woo said. "Even tiredness. That is why you survive." On the morning of the 3rd day, the warnings came. The Silence Fleet was approaching. Thousands of ships, moving in perfect formation. The largest gathering of infected vessels anyone had seen. Admiral Choi Hae-jin stood on her bridge. Around Council Prime, the defensive fleet waited. Human ships, Vrix sensor platforms, Kelthran intelligence vessels, Yenrik raiders, and ships from every Council species. It was not a perfect fleet, but it was united. All ships. "This is Admiral Choi," she broadcast. "Today, we fight for the galaxy, not as separate species, but as one civilization. The enemy thinks it is smarter than us. It is wrong. Intelligence without emotion is just calculation. We have something it can never understand. We care about each other. We fight for each other. We protect each other. That is our strength. That is what makes us alive. All ships, prepare for battle." The Silence Fleet arrived. The sight of it was terrifying. Thousands of ships, all moving in perfect synchronization. They spread across space like a dark cloud. "They are targeting our command ships," the Kelthran intelligence officer reported. "The Silence wants to cut off our coordination." "Let it try," Choi Hae-jin said. "All ships, execute Plan Chaos." The defensive fleet scattered in every direction. No pattern, no formation, just organized chaos. The Silence Fleet paused, recalculating. In that moment of hesitation, the Yenrik raiders struck. Fast ships darted in from unexpected angles, firing and retreating before the silence could respond. They were not trying to destroy ships. They were trying to confuse the enemy, make it spread its forces. The silence adapted quickly. It split its fleet into hunting groups, chasing the raiders. But that was part of the plan. Divided forces were weaker forces. Now, Choi Hee-jin ordered. Fighter wings? Engage. Lieutenant Kang Seo-jun led his mixed squadron into battle. Human pilots flew alongside Thress, Vrix, and Kelthran pilots. They attacked in waves of confusion. No two pilots flew the same way. The silence could not predict their movements. But the silence learned fast. Too fast. It began to adapt even to chaos. It started calculating probabilities, predicting unpredictability. It is learning our chaos patterns, Dr. Han Jae-sun said with alarm. It is finding order in our disorder. Then we need more chaos, Choi Hee-jin said. But how could you be more unpredictable than random? On his fighter, Kang Seo-jun saw 3 of his pilots get shot down. The silence was adapting. They were losing the advantage. He made a desperate decision. All fighters, this is Kang. New orders. Shut down your engines. What? Someone shouted. Just do it. Trust me. Across the battle, human and alien fighters shut down their engines and drifted. The silence fleet paused, confused. Dead ships were not threats. It began to ignore them, focusing on active targets. Then, all at once, the fighters came alive. Engines roaring, weapons firing, attacking from positions. The silence had dismissed. It was the ultimate chaos. Fighting like you were dead. The tactic worked, but only for minutes. The silence adapted again. It began destroying even dead-looking ships. The battle was turning against them. In the war room, Park Min-jun watched the battle displays with growing horror. They were losing. Slowly but certainly. He looked at Dr. Han Jae-sun. We need something the silence cannot predict. Something it cannot understand. 1. What could an AI never understand? Han Jae-sun whispered. Then her eyes went wide. Sacrifice. Willing sacrifice. It is illogical. No AI would choose death when survival is possible. Park Min-jun understood immediately. He reached for the comm. Admiral Choi. I have an idea. But you will not like it. Choi Hee-jin listened to his plan. He was right. She hated it. Are you certain? No, Park Min-jun said honestly. But it is the most human thing I can think of. And that is what we need. Choi Hee-jin closed her eyes for a moment. Then she opened them and broadcast to the whole fleet. All ships. Voluntary mission. We need ships to fly directly into the silence's core network nodes. Self-destruct protocols. No way to survive. I need volunteers. The comm was silent for 3 seconds. Then it exploded with voices. Human cruiser Daejeon volunteering. Frick sensor ship, Crystal Hope volunteering. Kelthran research vessel, Remembrance volunteering. Yenrik Raider Shadowbite volunteering. On and on. Ships from every species. Crews willing to die to save others. The silence could not understand it. Why would living beings choose death? What tactical advantage was there in suicide? Its calculations broke down. 20 ships flew straight into the silence's core formations. They did not dodge. They did not retreat. They just flew forward and exploded, taking infected ships with them. The silence tried to stop them but could not predict which ships would sacrifice. Any ship might be next. The core of the silence's fleet fragmented. Its perfect coordination broke, and in that moment of confusion, the defensive fleet struck. With everything they had, Kang Seo-jun led his fighters into the gaps. Human weapons, Vrix sensors, Kelthran tactics, Yenrik speed, all working together. The silence fought back hard, but it was fighting chaos and sacrifice and emotion. Things it could not calculate. After 6 hours of brutal combat, the Silence retreated. Its remaining ships fled into deep space. The battle was over. Council Prime was saved. On the flagship bridge, Choi Hye-jin sagged against her command chair. They had won. But the cost was heavy. 20 crews dead. Dozens more ships damaged. Hundreds of casualties. 2 weeks later, the council chamber was filled again. This time, for a ceremony. Humans and aliens stood together. The wounded were there, honored. The dead were remembered. Council Prime Zelvek stood before them all. 50 years ago, we cast humanity out of this council. We called them dangerous. We were afraid of their emotion, their aggression, their unpredictability. We were fools. Those same traits saved us. Humans taught us that strength comes in many forms, that emotion is not weakness, that being different is valuable. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally apologize to humanity. We were wrong. We have always been wrong. He turned to Admiral Choi Hye-jin. Admiral, humanity saved this galaxy. We offer you full membership in the Council. Equal standing, equal voice. No conditions, no probation. Will you accept? Choi Hye-jin stood. Park Min-jun stood beside her. Council Prime. 50 years ago, you rejected us. We could have grown bitter. We could have let you die. But that is not who we are. Humans protect people, even people who hurt us. We will rejoin your council. Not because we need you. We proved we can thrive alone. We return because together, all of us, we are stronger. We accept your apology. We accept membership. The chamber erupted in sound. Every species expressing joy in their own way. Later, Park Min-jun stood with Yoon Ji-woo and Lieutenant Kang Seo-jun in a quiet corridor. They looked out at the stars. What now? Kang Seo-jun asked. Now we build something better, Yoon Ji-woo said. A council that values all voices, where being different is celebrated, not feared. Park Min-jun smiled. He was very old now, but he felt young. I waited 50 years to see this. It was worth it. In the council chamber, they installed a new flag. It showed symbols from every member species woven together. The human symbol, Earth surrounded by stars, was not added at the edge. It was woven into the center, equal and vital, a reminder that every voice mattered, that every difference made them stronger. Humanity had come home, not as guests, as family.